My name is Kyrie White. I'll be doing a presentation over the planet Venus, which is also known as our sister planet. First, let's go over the outline. Today, in this presentation, we're going to talk about the historical discovery, the evolution, physical properties, orbit and rotation, past explorations, and future endeavors for the planet Venus. First of all, we're going to talk about the discovery and history. The first person to point a telescope at Venus was a man named Galileo back in 1610. Even with his crude telescope, Galileo realized that Venus goes through phases like the moon. However, oldest surviving astronomical documents is a Babylonian text that talks about Venus in 16 BC. It contains a 21-year-old record of Venus appearances. Astronomers predicted that Venus would transit across the surface of the sun. The first time this was observed was on December 4th, 1639, and later transits helped astronomers discover that Venus has an atmosphere and helped calculate the distance from the Earth to the Sun with great accuracy. The last transit of Venus happened in 2004, and the next one will be in 2012. Venus evolution. In the early stages of the solar system, Venus seems to have evolved very rapidly compared to the Earth. Data from Venus expresses supports that theory that the Earth's twin once had significant volume of water covering the surface, but appears that these oceans were lost in very short geological timescale. Basically, the reason why Earth and Venus are called sister planets is because Venus was basically just like Earth, but due to geological timescale, the effects of the sun quickly changed the environment of the planet. As a result of the loss of water, the geological evolution of the surface of Venus slowed right down because it was unable to develop plate tectonics like Earth. Biological evolution was prevented altogether. Thus, in terms of Venus being another Earth in climate and habitability terms, it evolved too quickly at first, then too slowly. So, like I said, that's why it is known as a sister planet, because it evolved too quickly and then too slowly. But technically, if that did not happen, we would have a planet just like our own. Physical properties. Venus is a little bit smaller than Earth, but it's probably like the Earth inside. Venus is made of rock and metal, and probably as a partly melted metal core, and a rocky mantle, and a crust. The planet rotates very slowly, taking more than 243 Earth days to spin on its axis. This may be why the planet doesn't have a magnetic field like many of the other planets, including Earth. We got the crust, just like Earth, our metallic core, rocky mantle, carbon dioxide atmosphere, and sulfuric acid as well. And then here's the actual surface of the planet. The atmosphere of Venus is made up mainly of carbon dioxide and thick clouds of sulfuric acid completely cover the planet. The atmosphere traps in small amounts of energy from the sun that does reach the surface. Along with the heat the planet itself releases. This greenhouse effect has made the surface and lower atmosphere of Venus one of the hottest places in our solar system. Why should Venus and not the Earth have a hot and thick atmosphere? Some scientists call it the Goldilocks phenomenon. A couple things about orbit and rotation. Radius. Venus has a radius of 3,760 miles, which is also 6,052 kilometers. Axial tilt is 2.64 degrees for the retrograde rotation. Average distance of 67 million miles, or 108 million kilometers. Venus is 0.7 astronomical units away from the sun, which means that it is obviously a little bit less than is the Earth from the sun. It completes one rotation in 243 Earth days. Venus rotates in the direction opposite of its orbital revolution around the sun. Basically, what that means is that Venus is one of the few planets that rotates the opposite direction of what is usually like our planet. In this little picture, it shows that for majority of the time being, Venus is always daytime for most of its rotation around the sun, and then just a little bit of that time is spent in darkness. Past exploration. The first spacecraft to arrive at Venus was NASA's Mariner 2, which flew past Venus in 1962. It was followed by spacecraft from Russia, including several that actually landed on the surface of Venus and survived up to a few hours in the Herodias heat. NASA's Magellan spacecraft was equipped with a radar instrument that could pierce through the atmosphere of Venus and reveal the terrain below. It showed that Venus has evidence of volcanism and impact craters, but no plate tectonics. This helps contribute to its runaway greenhouse effect. And here's a picture of that satellite right there. This helps contribute, the most recent spacecraft sent to Venus is the European Space Agency's Venus Express. It arrived at Venus in 2006 and has been making continuous observations of the planet ever since. For future exploration, representatives from the U.S. and Russian Venus research community are working together to identify and prioritize the scientific objectives of a joint Venera-D mission concept. The science definition team has recommended both an orbiter and a lander to address the high priority science goals that will support the advanced study of planets' atmospheric dynamics, as well the surface geology and chemistry. The Venera-D mission concept aims for a launch window in 2026 or 2027. For future exploration, in 2017, the Indian Space Research Organization announced plans to become the most recent nation to consider exploration of our closest planetary neighbor. The proposed Venus mission targets a 2020 launch date and will most likely be a climate orbiter. Couple of closing remarks. Just a couple of reasons why I like Venus. Venus is the hottest world in our solar system. Although Venus is not the planet closest to the sun, its dense atmosphere traps heat in a runaway version of the greenhouse effect that warms the Earth, which I thought that was pretty interesting. Venus is one of the brightest objects in the sky. It is always found near the sun. It rises and sets each day, so it has the nicknames morning and evening. And I think that's pretty cool because basically just we have a miniature sun in our solar system for the most part. A day on the surface of Venus, a solar day, takes 117 Earth days. So little over 3 months. It just is daytime all the time, and for the most part, I would enjoy it, but I wouldn't be able to sleep, and I would be pretty disappointed with that. And of course, at one point, it was thought Venus might be a tropical paradise, and I really think that's an interesting little fact because if a few things different happened, we could have had another complete Earth that we could travel to in a certain time. We could have the possibility of another human species on a different planet, and I thought that would just be really nice and be really cool to experience one day. And that is all for my presentation. Hope you enjoyed it, and thank you.